Hello, and welcome to the first ever EYBY. Hey, Jonathan. Okay, so the first thing I want to try out is just to see if we can text back and forth. When I made some test versions of it, it wasn't showing up. I actually did have 30 people that watched that video I released a half hour ago. It looks like we have some others in the room. I have to switch to this is where you realize you have to get prescription sunglasses. Hey, Palm Nation and Palm Tree Dude. All the palm tree people are showing up. Yeah, I'm going to take the laptop into the banana grove here in a second. I'm waiting for the ants to crawl inside it. Actually, I've flicked a few off of it. I just set up a folding table. Yeah, I know you are. You know, we have 3 varieties of palm trees growing now in the Whatcha Got Growing On series. The sable, the areca. I believe there was one other. Yeah, so I'm going to plant something to add to that in this live stream. So let me know if you have a request from something you think is in my backyard, and I'll go take a clipping right now. I actually have a pot and the clippers. 20-year-old Fisker clippers. I was thinking maybe take another Croton clipping. I took a couple of the more colorful ones in the earlier episodes, but I'd really like to get more growing of the more green variegated type. Yeah, we've got a sable palm nation. We've got a sable palm planted in there, and I actually took those seeds. They were very green when I took them, and they have not sprouted yet. It's only been a couple of weeks though, so I don't think there's a problem. They were fresh, so we should be seeing those sprouting soon. I planted like 7 or 8 of them. Yeah, so any requests on a cutting? See, I've got already growing. I've got all the Dracaena that I have in my backyard. That's what gardens are for, Big Cat. All right. I'm gonna just go ahead and seize the initiative here and take a cutting within view of where I'm sitting here. I'll be right back. Okay, this is a good example. Well, that comes out pretty good. Just using the laptop cam. Good example of a really cool kind of Croton. And, you know, these are not super high success rate cuttings in my experience, but they are fairly easy to grow. I don't know how many varieties of these Crotons there are. I'm going to put it in one of these plastic pots. I just got Miracle-Gro soil in there. And that's interesting. Yeah, you see you plant that, and then the first thing it wants to do is lean over. And that's what you don't want, a leaner. So I think it's always good, so we're getting right down to it, to remove some of the lower leaves. The theory is that, not a theory, the hypothesis is that if you remove the lower leaves, you free up energy for the plant to grow. You know, I also realize as you remove the leaves, you free up its ability to get light. Now, the other thing is I think this cutting is a bit long for the size of this pot. See, it's like, you know, no matter what it could touch, don't want it touching the bottom. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to cut it right about there. Don't want to get dirt, too much dirt on the old laptop. Free mulch. All right. Yeah, so I kind of already made a hole in there. I do want it to be in there pretty good. I don't want it spinning. I always say that about taking cuttings because I don't want it. And it's very windy here all the time, most of the time. So they'll start to spin. But you can see I can shake that pot a little bit and it's in there sturdy. Now the cool thing is if it grows, it's going to look like this right away. You know, maybe a few of the bottom leaves will fall off, but if it takes, it'll look like this. If not, it'll kind of wilt and die. But usually I would plant 3 or 4 of them. But another way to go is to plant, look at all this multicolored mulch. Good stuff. You can't buy that at the store. All right, so let's see what everybody's saying. I can't believe how many people showed up. Holy moly. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the bananas. I saw Palm Nation talking about the guy down the street with all the bananas. I might be that guy, you know, for my neighbors. I'm more and more becoming that guy now. I've got a giant Musa banana grove behind me here that's got 5 different hands of bananas growing in it. So if you figure each banana tree is going to produce about, let's just take a conservative estimate of 50 bananas. You know, it's not hard to do the math of how many bananas you're dealing with. So one of the things I'm trying to do is to, and I tried this before, is to make chocolate covered bananas or some way to store the bananas to make smoothies later or whatever. They're really good. But I don't know how to deal with that many bananas. I'm going to be honest. The last bunch of bananas fell to the raccoons, the squirrels, and the birds. They're good to eat too. Gold Dust Croton is one of my faves. Yeah, that's a great one. I used to have a good one there. A hurricane killed it. That might be a good one to grab and put in there. I was just thinking about that too. Like if you look in this back area here, you don't have any of those. I'll turn it this way. It doesn't show up well, but yeah, this is the Croton right there, one of the very common types. And here's the other type that's more like this one. It's that just green and white, like the Gold Dust Croton is. And just looking at how the light plays with it, and there's a little dreadlock Croton right there. Those are the things that are going to stand out. So as you look at where you could fill in this landscape here, obviously right here and right here, and a Gold Dust Croton right here would actually do pretty well. They do well in kind of partial sun situations, I found, and there's really nowhere that doesn't get a lot of sun here other than under canopy. And that's cool. Yeah, Jonathan, the Croton's a good choice for you, for sure, in the apartment. Sorry, I continue to scratch my ankles, which are being repeatedly eaten by mosquitoes. It's not a problem. Popsicle stick in the pot. Yeah, to stabilize it. I like that one, Palm Tree Dude. Yeah, I try to avoid the various additional things if I can, like adding complexity to the cutting situation. Sometimes the popsicle stick idea for me is just to put in, you know, to stabilize a cutting, is to just put in 3 cuttings, you know, and there you also get 3 chances to win. Yeah, do I have a mango tree? I sure do. Right there. That's a Hayden mango tree. And then that way, on many videos, the Tommy Atkins mango tree. And then I've got a Edward mango tree, which has struggled to overcome the salty irrigation in my backyard for years, but finally has. So we have high hopes for that producing mangoes. But yeah, mango trees are a huge topic for me. And I am actually thinking of getting an additional one. And this beast behind me, the Hayden mango, is one of the most delicious mangoes you could possibly have, yet it is huge. And it's got trunks now on it that are about this big around. And you don't want a mango tree or a fruit tree really to be more wood than it is branches. Just mango groves, keep them trimmed low and wide. You know, that's kind of the opposite of that. But anyway, I could go on and on about mango trees, but yes, I have mangoes. Love them. King of fruits. Oh, how much money do I save by growing fruit in my backyard? That's a good question. And to be honest, not much, really. And the reason is I probably wouldn't go seek out this fruit at the grocery store if I didn't have it already in my backyard. But the fact that it's always back there, and the goal has been to make, you know, this whole yard produce some kind of fruit year round, means that as I'm walking around, like I did this morning, I picked some Surinam cherries and ate them. You know, I was eyeing over the bananas. So yeah, it's more or less, it just incorporates a healthy diet, just because the food's right there. So, yeah, how to deal with the mosquitoes. I like that one, Big Cat. Yeah, I think it's a stoic exercise. I think it's an exercise in accepting, you know, the way, part of what it is to be out in the backyard. Well, okay, any ideas on when would be the best time to schedule these streaming events? I was thinking maybe on the weekend. Yeah, you know, the idea of how much money, what's the value of the fruit produced in a yard, a small yard like mine? How much, if you were to sell all that fruit somehow, how much would the value of it be? And you could tally that up pretty quickly. I'm looking around my yard. The star fruit produces hundreds of star fruit. On a conservative side, 200 star fruit. I don't know what each of those are worth. The Tommy Atkins mango is the one that's a big producer. It could easily, if I grew it just with a mind for fruit, it could easily produce 100 mangoes a year. The Hayden, maybe 20 mangoes a year. I've got sugar cane growing. I could probably get about 4 or 5 stalks. So you start to add it up, all the bananas, 10 or so banana trees worth of bananas. It starts to have a value, but the question is, what do you do with all that? Ultimately, you can't give it away fast enough, but that's kind of the fun too. Yeah, the Facebook gardening groups. I need to get an active Facebook account, maybe. Oh, so something cool that happened recently is that company seedsnow.com gave me a $20 gift certificate to go buy seeds online. So I got all kinds of interesting stuff, but also some microgreens. And I'm also working with a company that makes these elevated planters and seeing if they'll give me a bunch of those to, you know, really increase the amount of stuff I can grow here. But I've got lots of ideas regardless of that. Have you thought about selling fruit at farmers markets? I actually have. I've thought about farmers markets, and actually farmers markets in general are such an interesting place to go for me. There are several around this area in Florida. They're very common. But no, I wouldn't actually do it because I wouldn't want to sit in a farmer's market for that long. I like to kind of strike mission, in, out. Where did my queen palm go? I've actually got one queen palm that is in the corner. And I have one in the front yard that died. It actually suffered top rot and died, but it was very, very old. Very old. It had actually been, damaged by the yard claw that comes in to pick up yard debris. It actually hit it and ripped side of the bark off, and then it started to die a couple of years later. So I think that might have been what did it, but just the one so far. But I'm considering planting coconuts along my curb, you know, on the easement between the sidewalk and the street, which is a bold endeavor because they want to spread, but you can't. They grow so aggressively. You can keep them kind of as a column. I've got neighbors who do it, but it's a commitment. I might just try one. Yeah, the coconut bombs. Nobody's parking out front on the street. Yeah, the coconut's a strong grower. But what type of coconut, I think, really is the question. It's the right type of coconut. And I had a yellow Malaysian coconut, is what they called it, which is a dwarf style coconut. But it got a kind of bug on it that caused it to rain sap all over my wife's car. So that was the end of that coconut tree. I actually had a neighbor come over when I was sawing it down, almost in tears about sawing it down. So that was an emotional moment for her. But we got rid of that coconut tree, and I've always wanted another one. I just don't want a green coconut tree that gets 80 feet tall and, yeah, it's dropping bombs, like hazardous. Hey, OCD-ish chick. You made it. Look at that. All the committed are here. Super cool. This is my first attempt at doing this. OCD-ish chick, have you done this before, the live streaming? Yeah, oh, by the way, if you want to check it out, we planted a Croton. I'll add that to the collection. Yeah, so in terms of what's pickable right now, that's a question that I get a lot on the channel. Actually, besides, like, you know, where do I get one of those plants? That's another very common one. I'm going to go pick a thing right now. Okay, here we are. I've not done it. All right, well, maybe this will inspire you to do it. I'm already inspired to do it again. So that is a Surinam cherry. Yeah, that webcam takes a pretty good picture. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? The way it has the reds and the oranges. But very firm, ripe Surinam cherry. They come in two colors, red, this type, and black. I've always wanted to get the black. Here's another interesting thing. You can see they get almost over-ripened very quickly, but it doesn't affect the flavor. Yeah, like a pumpkin. Right. I actually think the little green part on the end there has a tart flavor to it that adds to it, by the way. So does the stem. A little life hack there for eating Surinam cherries. The stem is a good one. Here's a very, very fat one. And I picked a couple just to show the difference between, you know, this is right before it's ripe. That's when it's ripe. And that's when it first grows. You can see parts of it start to turn before the rest of it. Pretty interesting. This is another easy one, good one to plant. They grow very easily. We have so many of them under this cherry tree behind the computer here that we call it cherry grass. Just mow them. Yeah, so we checked a couple of good boxes in this first live stream. One is the planting of a cutting, and the other is the picking of the fruiting. I recently made a goofy bamboo trimming video that will be coming out this week. It shows some bambusa that I have in the front yard, bambusa multiplex that I trimmed to be a fountain shape. And so finally got that trimmed up. What do those look like inside? Oh, the Surinam Cherries. Yeah, they have 2 white pits. It's actually, most of this is pit. There are typically 2 little subdivided pits that are inside here. Yeah, but it's a very easy thing to eat. It's not like it's all pit. Like maybe a sea grape is a good example of one that is just very little fruit and mostly pit. Yeah, I've never tried to make anything with that. With the mulberries, I've made preserves and things, but I've never tried to actually make something with the Surinam cherries. I haven't messed around with splicing, big cat. I haven't. I have not, and I'm curious about that too. One of the things they have in Florida is what they call Indian River fruit, which is really the grafting of established citrus onto the, I think it's the lemon root of the wild citrus trees that were left behind by the Spanish original settlers of this area and grew wild in forests for 300 years. And then now that root of citrus is what's used as the stock for everything. So, but I never have actually tried it myself. Wow, you found a sea grape floating in the ocean. That's incredible. Yeah, they're usually hard to grow from seed, in my opinion. Most of the ones I've successfully gotten sea grapes to grow from seeds were ones that were already partially sprouted, like on the edge of a parking lot in a bad place under a sea grape. You know, they just rain thousands of seeds everywhere. You can catch them before they die, those little sprouts. That's a good way to get them. All of the sea grapes in my yard were created that way. Oh, royal palm seed. Yeah, right. They can look very similar, certainly. Yeah, I thought of growing some palm trees in pots as an alternative to that coconut idea, to grow 3 queen palms. That's a good choice. Might look around for a healthy bunch of seeds. Need to get a super dwarf Cavendish, says Palm Nation. Yeah. Yeah, the dwarf Cavendish banana patch in the south end of my yard, just that way, now takes up about a 10-foot by 3-foot area, and it's getting bigger. I'm putting those thornless blackberries back there as well, which will spread. They run everywhere. But that's what I think you want. But they go under the fence too. Yeah, the earlier question, poll the community tab. That's what I'll do. Yeah, I'm going to take a note on that. Yeah, the Washingtonia. I used to have 4 Washingtonia palms in my front yard, which I purchased fairly large. They were actually $35 a pop, but they were big, because they have them in local nurseries here. And yeah, they took off. They also resulted in hospital bills. With the stalk there is like a saw. So I like the queen palms much better. I like the palms that don't hurt you at this point in my life. The worst thing is not the cut from these saw-like palms, although they're very hardy. It's the piece of the thorn that breaks off. Yeah, I've almost got all thorny plants removed from my yard. The only one left is really the lemon tree, and I have a couple of agaves, but I keep up on the agaves very carefully in the lemon tree as well. Oh, invasive Mexican petunias. Yeah, they're invasive there as well. Yeah, I made the same mistake. I'm drawn to them, the Mexican petunias. They're everywhere. There it is. That is a beautiful flower. This cutting right here will grow with 100% certainty. And they actually grow from seeds too. So once they start going, they grow very easily from seeds. Yeah, so you're never going to get, once you've chosen them, you will never get rid of them. Yeah, but if they're in the right place. Yeah, I love them too. I'm glad I chose them. I have no regrets in adding them to the yard. I actually have two types. One I didn't add, one that was added. There's a small type that grows here too that's actually in my lawn, and it looks like grass, the top of it, but it's a dwarf, very short type of Mexican petunia. I think that's from, they sell those types in local chain stores and stuff. But yeah, they grow everywhere. A look of Alexander. I wanted to try to pronounce it correctly. Alexander and Kintiopsis oliformis palm trees. I will. Excellent. With no thorns. Yeah. I am worried about the palm tree thorns. I was like traumatized by them, having been bitten so many times. Yeah. All you need to do is just grab a quick cutting. Nobody will mind. You're taking a Mexican Petunia cutting. They're great. You know, one of the things we did with them is we pressed them in a book. So if you still have a book, everything isn't on a computer, you can press them and they will retain the color some of the time. So I always like the colorful flowers and also the foliage. Do I ever find a palm seedling in the yard? Yes, I do, all the time. And as a matter of fact, I find palm seedlings beneath the palm that they came from commonly, but that is, I think, the best way to grow palm trees, in my opinion. I've actually got 3 areas in my yard now, which I did a video with Jack about the palm tree nuts and the different types. And so I took those bunches of palm tree nuts. Some were Robolini, some were the Areca, and some were the Cocos, the queen palm. And I've actually took those and just let them rest in different areas of the yard and just create a pile. And the plan is to come back and grab them when they've sprouted. So you put down 100 seeds and however many sprout. You know, on the Areca, I would expect them all to sprout. Big cats, in the climate that I'm in, they were considered dedicating a section to carnivore plants. That's a cool idea. I haven't really, but there's several that I'm interested in for sure. There's this kind that I see around occasionally that smells like rotten meat. That is a beautiful type that draws in the flies and then eats them. I'm not sure what others. That's an interesting one. Oh, a pitcher plant. Yeah, I'm worried about pitcher plants. I'm worried about any plant that collects water or anything that collects water in my backyard, because even the petals from a banana flower will, just in the days of raining, because they'll stay full of water because it will rain every day here. Or not full of water, but enough water to keep mosquito larvae alive. So this area that I'm in was actually known for mosquito populations so thick that it was like fog. So the fact that we can be outside at all is probably just the fact that mosquito control. But then, you know, I do have lots of neighbors that have types of bromeliads, not necessarily the pitcher plants. And, you know, frogs do set up camp in them pretty quickly, even in suburban kind of, you know, not jungly areas. Apparently there are still frogs. And I don't know if they can eat all the mosquitoes out of there. I used to have a pond that I used, well, I had some tilapia in there that I'd caught lots of them, and I would use the water to fertilize because it was full of the fish waste. And I looked in there all the time, never saw mosquito larvae. You have native pitcher plants, but they're dying off. Too much canopy. Yeah, mosquito eater plants. Mosquito eater plants that would be like, well, as I'm thinking, like, is it the citronella? Yeah, the mosquitoes. Hey, Julia. Yeah, you keep finding random bananas growing on the side of the road in Florida. That's something that fascinated me for years, was the random growth of bananas along the road and along certain rivers. I heard, and I don't know if this is a myth, but I heard that they can have seeds. I don't know. Maybe that's just a myth created to keep you from picking all the banana sprouts. Yeah, what is the purpose of a mosquito? That's a very deep question. Yeah, it's a nice afternoon here. The wind is actually offshore, which is kind of cool for surfing. But that storm that went up in the Gulf actually pulled a lot of the weather away, so it's actually fairly clear here. Thanks. Yeah, well, wild bananas do form seeds. Types that grow fruit are seedless because of the way they were bred over thousands of years. Hey, Drew Bell. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah. Well, I know, you know, certain plants come in the female and male variety. I certainly am at a point in my backyard where the papaya growth has escalated to a perhaps untenable level. You look behind me. That's just the bottom. Let's see. Well, there they are. Yeah, that's more interesting than looking at me anyway. Yeah, all fruit. So the fruit count, we do fruit math, is very high. But those are females, which produce the fruit, very short flower. And you see a lot of wild papaya growing around this area too. Mostly male papayas though. But the thing with the papayas, they really do need the water to produce quality fruit, in my opinion. So even though they'll grow in a drought tolerant area, the result is not that great. Yeah, mosquitoes are food for other insects. Yeah, we have a lot to learn from the mosquito. They haven't been too bad this year for whatever reason. And we're lucky here that we didn't get hit with any hurricanes. Hopefully that trend will continue. That's kind of one of those reset moments that you expect living in Florida. Crowns of the bananas can hold water. I believe it. I'd say the mosquito population in the banana grove is higher than other places. Yeah, let's not forget about their ability to transmit diseases. Yeah, they actually have outbreaks of mosquito-borne diseases in Florida. However, I've never seen mosquitoes like I encountered in the northeast of the United States in terms of their size and ferociousness. I would say the Florida mosquito is far more tame. Well, okay, so this was a good first live stream. I really appreciate everybody showed up. Thank you. We got a couple of things. I'm going to add this over to the Whatcha Got Growing On grow table. I'm going to throw this in the yard waste. And I'm going to eat this. I appreciate it. And one other thing I'm going to do is to post live stream events and when they'll be happening, so you can see those coming out by the end of this weekend. And hope to see you back. I appreciate it. Okay, thanks for watching.